Triple BKB, well, that's going to be 3 4-second BKBs. If the game goes long enough, but for the time being, they're still pretty healthy. DK, the group up, they'll look to fight bottom, and we do see a Helm of the Dominator for burning, so getting closer and closer to Satanic. And I like the fact he's not saving for buyback. Occasionally you would see that in the past, but this is a game where burning needs the Satanic. If he saves for buyback, so what? The team's going to lose the fight anyway, and, well, then it's not going to matter if he does end up getting picked off. So I like this choice from him, and Satanic coming soon.
It's as much almost about the raw HP, just because of you need the actual HP to survive a Doom here. Which burning, he'll survive it, and then Satanic, pop it on, you regain all that life. I don't even think he's going to be doing much more at this point. I think more likely if you can get it on someone like the Darkseer before the fight breaks out. Even Alchemist, those unstable concoctions, causing a lot of problems.
Yeah, we'll see. Maybe Rising Stars goes for the Chainstone, but it's where, as you pointed out, they don't really have a great reliable initiation against the BKB carry. Dragon 2.
Doom's doing it. He's got point booster.
Aghanim Scepter for Shao Tuji in the offing.
Oh yeah.
I believe it also does improve the
damage by a lot.
Yeah.
It goes from 70 damage at level 3 to 110 damage per second.
That's a lot of damage.
Oh yeah.
We'll see how long he can live in the team fights. I'm still not sold on the build. It does make you tankier, but
yeah.
End of the day, if burning is just focusing you with flat cannon or just with auto attacks, I feel Doom may explode regardless. But we'll see. Interesting build, and excited to see the new patch really strutting its stuff here today.
Yeah, well, I guess there's no other majorly changed series. Or Crystal Maiden, as we've seen, get picked up here by DK, just with some stat/numbers changes. There we go. Burning's got his Satanic. So I guess for now, DK, they want to wait out the next Roshan. They also get a BKB on Alchemist, so they're almost ready to actually take the fight and go for a push. The one item which they may be missing is going to be the pipe on the Undying, but I don't think they're too worried about waiting for that.
You know, Guts, the one scary thing for DK as this game goes later and later, Undying as well as Crystal Maiden, amazing laning supports, very strong even in the early to mid game, but you go late game, these heroes don't do hardly anything for you. Crystal Maiden is just going to get blown up by a triple BKB lineup, won't be doing a damn thing with Freezing Field, and a hero like Undying, the zombies aren't going to do much against, you know, just the Tombstone will die very quickly.
Yeah. The Sven is getting pretty big here. He's got his BKB Mask of Madness. Next item you can only imagine is going to be the Daedalus. Of course, all these items slowed down by the fact he went for the treads and the drums, but if he can get up that Daedalus in, let's say, 10 minutes time without Rising Stars losing tons of fights in that time, I think Rising Stars suddenly have an actual chance in this game.
Well, it felt like they were on the back foot. Never really felt like they were fully out of it. They do trail by 10,000 gold, 6 or 4,000 experience, which isn't that much, but the 10k gold's a big difference. They get the Shadow Blade now in Aaron. The items they're picking up are relatively cheap items that can have a big punch. Items like BKB, items like Shadow Blade. You get that initiating stun off, maybe, just maybe, you can blow somebody up. But if they give away this Aegis to Burning, could get a lot harder. Super's in the pit, as you mentioned. BKB available for him, and Rising Star's going to strut down mid, looking to push this lane out and contest this Roshan. But can they do it? This is going to be one of the toughest Rosh fights you'll ever see. You're up against Vacuum, Wall, Call Down, Flat Cannon, and oh, by the way, a very farm gyro.
Illuminate, Illuminate almost stole Roshan. That was almost perfectly timed, but Rising Stars quickly realized they can't really do any aggressive fights there. It's just so risky. And one lost fight at Roshan and they lose the game, basically. If they lose 3-4 heroes and don't get Roshan, it's game over. So I think it's slightly smarter not to take any risky fights there. Just back off and just go for those next couple items. I love the Shadow Blade pickup for DK. Even though there's a gem on the Darkseer, it's still such a great item.
It gives you the move speed as well, and the unit walking, which in some cases just is what you need to getting close and secure an initiation. 3k gold up and burning. I imagine we'll be working towards something like a butterfly now for him, and I mean, whatever he goes for, he will be hitting like a truck once that next item comes up. And end of the day, even if Keeper of Light snipes that Roshan, it's a little bit of gold into Rising Star's pockets. But the big objective for DK, they don't really need gold because Crystal Maiden Undying don't make that great use of it, and their carries are getting plenty of it anyway. It's much more about the Aegis. They have that on Burning now regardless.
And the Aghanim's Doom is up. I'm excited to see this. This is new.
Duration does not count down if an enemy is within 550 range of Doom. So I actually remembered my patch notes for once. There were so many, guys. I'm honestly terrified to even talk about it because I feel like we're missing a lot. We're probably forgetting a lot. We're probably getting some of them wrong. But in this case, at least, well, we were right there. So Rising Stars, they'll push in the middle lane. Illuminate going to clear out the creep wave. It's QQQ. He'll rotate in as well. And DK grouping up a bit mid, but they don't have Burning yet. So until we see Burning join the fray, they're not really looking to fight.
Yeah, he's up at top lane. Actually, a Dragon Knight there. Dragon, I'm sure he probably got like some plus armor this patch. Icefrog loves to just give Dragon Knight like an extra armor. Every now and then it's like, oh, DK gets an extra +1 armor. Same for Doom. Like Doom, the joke was always, oh, Doom is too much armor because he just gets these random +1 armor buffs. But
Because that's what DK really needs. He needs more armor. That's the weakness of this hero.
Yeah, I don't think you need to give him higher base armor when he has a spell which gives him plus 12 armor, but
It's all right.
it's always the ongoing thing to try and make melee heroes stronger, is just give him more armor.
Well, we'll see an initiation here. They're going to fight without burning, but they do catch out XDD. Look at Super going to work. The secondary DPS for this team doesn't feel so secondary right now. They'll pick him off, and now they look to break the base, and the question is, does Sven have buyback? He does, and he has BKB, but if he buys back now, gods, that means there's not a Daedalus in sight.
He may have to.
He probably will.
It's just like he doesn't want to, but he's gonna need to. Zhao Tuji, who's the target for the Doom? I'm curious to see. To me, yeah, Darkseer. Burning's got the Aegis, which makes him.
I think it is the Darkseer, like you said.
Alchemist is an okay target.
We'll actually get Monolith. I think they're thinking about pushing back in, but Blinding Light, well, not being used just yet. And for the time being, they'll continue to siege away this middle lane. Burning will look to go high ground. He's in the front lines. That's a Stormbolt that connects onto a Blinding Light that pushes them in further. Beautiful initiation. Now Super caught in a pretty bad position, but Burning's manning up. Nobody being focused. Pop the Doom already. Xiaotuji will finally get it off, but it's on Super already in Chemical Rage. The wall got off there, as well as the vacuum. Burning finds a kill, and they're going to continue to siege on this tower. Felt like he just was too hesitant to pull the trigger. RTK blows every single spell, and now they look to break the base.
Now they look to break the Doom, unfortunately, as you mentioned, how do you actually stay close with when you're using that Doom? When you're playing from behind, it's just not possible. He couldn't do it. Super, he's already back almost to full HP. He can pop his Chemical Rage and be just A-okay. And now we're seeing the Raxus being broken.
Black Cannon has got a long cooldown, but it does cool down now, and the fight's going to pop out again. Everybody gets vacuumed together. Burning looks to man up. He gets four-stepped 2 times away from the Sven, who was trying to attack him. Burning's still alive. Pops the Satanic. Goes to work. Xiaotuji on the run. Air on the run. They're both going to blow up, and DK overwhelming the defenses of Rising Stars. Looks like game 1 could be booked any second now. Gem hits the deck as well. DK don't care about this Gem. 4 heroes dead for Rising Stars. DK in game 1 of today's only best of 3 for the Dota 2 Super League. Off to a hot to trot start. Looks like they'll be taking the 1-0 lead.
Yeah, neat little Doom pick with the new little item here. Not going to be enough. Burning does what Burning does best. 7-0 and 8. Tons of farm. Leads the net worth, leads the farm, and well, 651 GPM was enough today for him on that Gyrocopter. Ends the game with 7.4k gold.
Yeah, could have gotten a rapier.
No swag
Who needs it? Burning, no YOLO swag cred, but fantastic individual play from him. And guys, I think the big thing was Rising Stars' movement through the laning stage. They seemed a little bit indecisive. They were forced to abandon the tri-lane, and we also saw the weakness of Doom. If you want to run him as a solo, but the enemy team doesn't give you a 1v1 matchup, you can lock him out of the jungle. You can really slow down his level progression, whereas a hero like Darkseer, he'll just go jungle and be very efficient.
Yeah, it really goes to show that, I mean, Darkseer gave away first blood, but didn't even matter, really. It gave Rising Stars a slightly bigger early game edge than they should have had, or at least sort of kept them closer, but ultimately, Rising Stars, while they had one of the strongest tri-lanes out there, it was a tri-lane which immediately fell apart, not because they were losing it, but because they felt they had to rotate the supports, and they have really bad supports for rotating around the map. They didn't have a solo mid. GK's sort of passive. He has to sit there, get levels, get farm. He can't really rotate around the map like we saw Alchemist do. Alchemist was and the other thing is, Alchemist is getting the room. DK can rotate around if he's getting haste runes, invis runes, but DK made sure they had rune control.
They got a little bit lucky with a lot of the runes spawning bottom where their tri-lane was parked. Easier to control those, but even so, Alchemist is also just a bit better at rune control. Acid Spray does a better job of pushing in the lane than something like Breathe Fire. Breathe Fire, you really rely on the Bottle Crow, and I think we saw the tweaks to Bottle Crowing, making DK not quite as strong of a mid as he used to be.
Yeah, and I think it's on that mention as far as controlling the runes, like they have the supports looking at the bottom rune, and Alchemist, he goes top before it even spawns. So if it spawns top, Alchemist is there before the DKs. If it's bottom, the support's protected.
And if DK goes for the rune, he's missing creeps under the tower.
Yeah.
So he falls further and further behind.
It was just overall the strategy meant that Dragon Knight was stuck mid, Alchemist could rotate around the map, the CM Undying's a better support roaming duo, and well, Rising Stars didn't have any answer. To me, they just had to stick with the offensive tri-lane. Doom needed to find a better way of getting into the jungle, but
I liked what RTK did, though, because RTK, he really rotated away from the lane. He went all the way to the small camp, and he didn't really come back to the lane, at least not near the tower, until he saw that heroes had abandoned it. Once Keeper of the Light TP'd bottom, that's where RTK started taking the farm, taking the experience, and being more aggressive in the lane. And we saw one of the weaknesses of a Sven tri-lane, which is you can't really leave the Sven alone in like 99% of cases. If you do, well, he just gets zoned out of lane. He won't stop Darkseer from farming, pulling, or pulling ahead.
And it was a big weakness of the Rising Stars draft overall, is that Sven was the hero that kept everything together, set up kills, won them the early game, got them into the mid game, started fights. When he was forced as an offlane against Darkseer, everything fell apart from there.
Well, DK, guys, they will take game 1, but of course, it's a best of 3. We'll be coming back soon. Rising Stars, they'll need to take game 2, or they will drop to 1-1 in the group. It's the Dota 2 Super League. It rages on here today. Group A already in the books, but Group B not yet even close to being settled. I'm LD, he's Gods. We'll be right back. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to game number 2 of DK versus Rising Stars for the Dota 2 Super League, the $165,000 coming out party for Perfect World. I'm LD. I'm joined by Gods. We just saw DK take care of business in game 1. They now lead Rising Stars in the best of 3 set, 1-0. Both teams 1-0 in the group, but obviously you win this game, you're 2-0 in the group, and you have the inside track at first place.
Yeah, the most interesting stuff, I guess, worthy of note today. Sure, this is the see who's getting first place in Group B, but I think what most people, especially the Western fans, are looking at, what's changing in 6.78. This is the new patch. We've seen it Doom with Accept last game. Didn't work out too much. We saw Gyrocopter still pretty strong. I think the flat cannon change affected him a little bit as far as when and how you use it. It means you're not spamming it, but the hero, almost as good as ever.
I think he is, and he still has his incredible laning presence where you have early points in Rocket Barrage. You can dominate anyone who comes near you. You can win the man fights or just the head-on-head clashes, basically, and you still farm pretty quickly. Sure, your farm rate's a bit slower in theory, but as you get damage items up, you don't really need 2-3 flat cannons to kill an Ancient Stack. You have an MKB, phase boots later on in the game. You kill the Ancient Stack just like that. So definitely seems like he's a bit weaker, and I think, like you said, the key thing is you can't just spam flat cannon. You have to choose when to use it selectively. But Burning did that, was successful.
Yeah, you're not quite the same flash farmer. Once again, though, this game, Game 2, Alchemist coming out from DK, first picked at that. They're recognizing the power and importance of picking this early. Also, they know Rising Stars love this hero, and it's great because it's versatile. You can send it solo mid, where we've seen Super playing it. You can also run it as that farming role for Burning.
I like the fact that DK is banning out Wisp against Rising Stars. It's something that we've occasionally seen teams like IG, LGD, maybe they get a little bit confident. They say, we can let Wisp through. That's a surefire recipe to lose a game against Rising Stars that maybe you otherwise wouldn't. We saw that LGD versus Rising Stars in the qualifiers for the International 3, so we won't see it here. Wisp is banned out. Rising Stars, they did well against Rattlesnake, but I did feel like Rattlesnake was a bit weak in that performance. Didn't feel like that team we saw coming out a month or so ago.
Yeah.
How is Rising Stars going to take a win here? Because to me, DK just looked like the more solid team in that game.
I think they need to go something a bit more unorthodox as far as they're concerned. I think this is where you even look towards that Kunkka, which we've seen had some good success. I think they're actually expecting DK to maybe go with the first pick Shadow Demon, and then Rising Stars will take the Alchemist themselves, because Shadow Demon's been banned out quite a bit. It's suddenly considered the top tier support, but Rising Stars going to try their hand with the Dragon Knight once again. So they've got the Shadow Demon. To me, this is going to come down to their trial. And the good thing about the Shadow Demon is even if they don't get the matchup they want, much better roaming around the map. Great sort of in all scenarios. Like we saw Visage keep it light. Great trial lane versus trial lane, or even trial lane versus solo if they're actually going to commit to it. But once your lanes fall apart, those heroes don't do much. Shadow Demon doesn't matter.
They give themselves more flexibility, but it does come at the cost of sort of their 5v5 engagement. Shadow Demon not bad in those situations, but you compare what Shadow Demon can bring to the table to what a 5-hero Illuminate can, or the Visage Familiar study multiple heroes. You get off 2 or 3 soul assumptions. Not quite the same punch in those team fights, so it is a bit of a trade for them. We'll now see what the third set of bans are going to be. Remember, it is a new draft format, guys. Each team picks 2 heroes. Then we go into our second stage of bans. They only ban 2. Then you get another 2 picks, then you get a final 2 set of bans and then picks. So, bit of a different format with the draft here. And the one thing I like about it is it gives teams more time to kind of see where their opponents are headed with that final few, those final 2 picks, and then react and sort of try and throw them off kilter a bit.
Yeah, I definitely do like it. And when the team that starts with the first pick don't then get the first pick in that middle picking stage, so it does somewhat take away some of that advantage. We'll see Gyrocopter banned out this time, so no Gyrocopter for Burning, and then looking towards the Queen of Pain ban. I think the big thing is here for DK is they're so versatile with their supports. The one thing, if you want to ban out supports, is you're banning the junglers. Last game we saw the Chen Enchantress ban, though. This time they're going to slip through, but I feel having a jungler with a Visage isn't the way to go. You want to be going a standard tri-lane.
Let's see where they do go. Alchemist normally the solo mid, which means if they want to run the Visage, then they need 2 components to that tri-lane. And who's it going to be? Keeper of the Lights in the pool. I mentioned Rubik before. That's something DICE played a lot with great success in the past, but not really the highest impact tri-lane support, more of just the setup hero, a great hero later on. So where do they go? As for DK, well, there is the Lone Druid. Both teams just ignoring this hero, and you know, it's with Burning in the game. Burning, a fantastic Lone Druid player. We've seen Chao2G play a pretty decent Lone Druid at times. I think a little bit more rarely, but neither and even I think XTD's run him off lane, but neither team interested in the hero so far.
Yeah, last game was a perfectly legitimate candidate for that safe lane. They went for something like the Doom instead, which didn't work out for them. So
I feel that game might have been a lot different if you had Lone Druid there.
Yeah.
I mean, even for 3 heroes just to dive him at the tower is pretty hard.
I don't think it would have been better just because it was against the tri-lane, which is going to go ugly. He's going to actually
unless you go full Sylar.
Well, against the trial lane with that, you're going to feed harder than the Doom did. Doom just got the hell out of there, went to jungle, so I think that could have actually gone a lot worse in some ways. But what they could have done is switch the lanes up, send Lone Druid top against the Darkseer, which is a 1v1 matchup where he does okay. So, I don't know. It's still a hero that can be easily punished.
Hindsight 2020, of course, for us here in the casting booth. Easy for us to second guess. And, well, the teams now, they can't worry about game 1. They'll just focus on game 2 the best they can. Queen of Pain, the ban for DK, and trying to remove out Air's strong solo mids. We've seen him run the solo mid Weaver in the past. That hero was ignored in game 1 entirely. I don't think he was banned at all, and he certainly wasn't picked. So I wonder if it's something they go to here, but they already have the DK. Normally he's your solo mid.
This doesn't look like a good Weaver game either. They have the solo mid, and they also Alchemist Visage, great burst damage potential for a hero like a Weaver, so probably not the ideal solo mid. I'm wondering what they even look for as far as Trialents goes. Juggernaut banned on the first stage is really interesting because he's like, with the lifestealer nerfs, he's like the new lifestealer almost in some ways, but he's banned out, so we're not seeing many of those strong offensive Trialing heroes left in the pool with both lifestealer, Juggernaut banned out. Sven we saw last game didn't really work out too well, and does either team even look to go offensive Trialing? If DK can get the solo mid Alchemist, they have got a Visage though, so
no Gyrocopter, Rising Stars ban that out. So the other question is, well, they'll ban the Weaver anyway. Maybe thinking it would be an off lane, and when you run a support Visage, he doesn't do much against Weaver in the early to mid game because you can't stun him, so you can always Sakuchi away. So Visage a little bit weak against Weaver early on. Once you get the familiars, you have a setup stun, not so much of an issue, but in that sense, I think it could be a suitable ban.
I think Rising Stars, even one game I remember they ran a farming Zhao 2G Weaver, which is, if you're going Trialing versus Trialing, Weaver's great. You can dodge soul assumptions, you can be very pesky and annoying, so it would actually fit in quite nicely as sort of a secondary carry, just not as a good solo mid.
And it would if they wanted to even get creative and play Rattlesnake style, run a dual lane, run 2 sets of dual lanes, and Shadow Demon Weaver, such a strong defensive dual lane combo.
Darkseer on the pool gets snacked up by Rising Stars, so probably XDD's hero for the off lane. They just need to finish off that trial lane with another support carry, and right now we've seen Zhao 2G play a number of different carry roles there, so I don't think they're too worried about having any of his heroes banned out.
You know, Gods, one thing that we haven't really discussed is Clockwork. Clockwork got some nerfs. The cogs no longer affect magic immune units. Haven't seen him yet, but you see a hero like Darkseer, and I mentioned the dual lanes. I don't know who they'd run with Shadow Demon as the combo, but a Darkseer Clockwork combo has been very strong for teams in the past. We've seen Rattlesnake and Rising Stars both be quite successful with it.
I think the hard thing is here for Rising Stars picking up a Clockwork is they're lacking damage right now. They've got 2 of their sort of semi-core heroes. They'd have to get something nice, sort of semi-carry for Zhao 2G if that's the case, and also they don't have a great follow-up. You have a Clockwork, you want a hero who can easily initiate following him, or at least throw some damage from afar, which isn't really DK. It's not really Shadow Demon, but
right. So it fits well with the Darkseer, but maybe not so well with the other 2.
Yeah, it would be all very dependent on their last pick here. But DK, they grabbed Nyx Assassin. I imagine to be played as a support here, LD.
I would assume so. We saw it could be a Burning Alchemist. I mean, I go back to that. DK continues to suggest that they don't really want to run that anymore, but they have the option, and that's where maybe Rising Stars won't be expecting it. Nyx Assassin solo mid, though, he's not really dominant. That's sort of the main issue is you're not going to stop DK from farming. I guess the Bottle Crow nerf means Mana Burn's slightly more effective, but end of the day, Nyx isn't going to be killing him early. And the other downside to running solo mid Nyx is it's a lot harder to gank because a solo mid that's off the map, much easier to detect than a tri-lane support who's pulling.
Yeah, and I think the other thing is, well, it's like you mentioned, they can do that. And I think with Alchemist for burning, it's not necessarily going to be your Grievel's Greed, let's get 800 plus GPM. He'll still go for an aggressive build. That's what we see with the Gyrocopter. BKB, it's a defensive item so that you can play more aggressive. You can push down towers early, you can take earlier team fights. It allows you to be much more sort of team fight heavy and risky in your fight selection.
Speaking of team fight selection, Rising Stars, they'll get the big team fight combo. Going back for the Jakiro.
I like the Darkseer Jakiro. There's really great synergy there.
They're playing on land. Ping should be pretty stable here. And Vacuum Ice Path combo, devastating. You hit that in a team fight, that's basically a mini reverse polarity on the entire enemy team. And a fairly low cooldown combo, something you can use twice in a longer scale team fight.
Clockwork, though, gets picked up, which is a nice sort of way of dealing with this. If you can find the Jakiro in the backlines, great. He's a key hero to lock out of the fight. Even a hero like Darkseer, if you can isolate him, bring him down. So that's something which is going to be a cause for concern for Rising Stars.
Another hero that we haven't seen much of today is Magnus, and he'll get banned here in the last stage. Rubik as well by Rising Stars, the